We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am your host, Sherman White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. Only 524 days left till episode 8. Bandit Incorporated.
What? Hello,
Hey.
hello.
Yes.
There has finally been an awakening.
Yes.
After
Have
all
you felt
this
it?
time. I felt it.
Oh my god, I felt
As if
it.
a
I
million
don't know
voices suddenly cried out in joy, and then were suddenly silenced.
Yeah. As if,
We'll
as
get
if
to
a
the
million,
silence bit in a minute.
as if a million voices cried out in relief, and then 500,000 of them cried out, eh. Because that really is the reception right now. It's kind of like, it's like awesome, or
Yeah.
it was alright.
I actually think we're kind of still in the honeymoon period, and a bit of time will pass, and then people will be like, why did this happen, or why did that happen? But we'll get to it, yeah.
I've got a couple of those moments of why would you do that, but we're gonna get to that. Bandit, how have you been?
I have been very good. I have been very good indeed. Oh my god. You know what? I just realized.
What?
Ah.
Did you leave your fan on, your window open?
Not only that, I had my proper mic facing in the wrong direction, so...
I was wondering why you sounded weird. I thought it was just my Skype call.
Okay, yeah, I've got my proper mic now. We're not going to redo the intro.
We're not going to redo the intro?
No.
Not even professionalism on this one. You know what, Bandit? The best part is, leave the whole thing in. Leave the whole thing in. True fans will stay, or just figure out how to hit 15 seconds
Should
ahead.
I record a little bit at the start where I say, yeah, the audio dropped out for the first 2 minutes, or should I just leave it so everyone's really confused?
I don't know. It's up to you, man. It's your podcast.
Let's just leave it. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right. Yeah. I can cut my volume down because you sounded kind of faint far away. I'm like, is it my Skype call? Do we have to redo this thing? But you know what? I'm glad you caught it when you did. As opposed to like the end of the episode, like, you know what? The mic was facing the wrong way.
Yeah, because I got my
3-hour epic debate about Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yeah. Because for those listening, I normally, because I have my desktop on and my laptop on, so I'm talking to Trey through the Skype on the laptop, and I've got my earphones in for that. But then I've got my mic attached to my my desktop. That's the proper mic that gives me the better sound. So yes. There's different stuff going in all different directions.
Yes, and I'm sitting here with my iPhone and my Beats by Dr. Dre product placement. I'm kidding, we don't get paid. And sitting here with my weird foldable TV tray table and my foldable soccer game chair and my water bottle, and that's my setup. So, yes, technology, the future. Okay, so
future.
Bandit. Yeah, the future. Okay, so Bandit. I don't know if you want to transition to the movie news. We didn't get a lot of big news this week, but we got one story. So let's get into the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
So, after about a year of speculation of how much is Star Wars: The Force Awakens going to make opening weekend, after Jurassic World becoming the juggernaut it is, after Jurassic World beat Avengers, the question was set, how much is Star Wars: The Force Awakens going to do opening weekend? And I think I have the official numbers here memorized. If I'm not mistaken, the official opening weekend for Star Wars: The Force Awakens is $240 million in the U.S.
Wow, that's pretty damn good.
You combine that with its international total, which is like 300 and something million. Its total worldwide gross for opening weekend is $517 million.
Wow.
Which means that Star Wars: The Force Awakens, as of right now, is about 1/6 as rich as Donald Trump. No, but that's pretty impressive.
I wonder
why.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'd be interested in like comparing it to Jurassic World and seeing how it's following, because they're very similar, like following off the back of like a more successful trilogy and kind of reinventing while also paying homage. So a lot of people have said it sort of did use the Jurassic World formula, but in a better way. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how similar in terms of money it goes.
Well, I think Jurassic World is using the formula that a lot of passing on the torch stories are using. I don't think that's a formula that they invented. I think it's just something that they used. I don't like comparing Star Wars: The Force Awakens to Jurassic World at all. I think they're about as far from each other as you can possibly get. But that's one's a cinematic spectacle. We'll get into it. One's garbage and one's just. Anyways, okay, so that's pretty much all the movie news we have here.
We figured. Listeners, we figured we'd just cut the fat and we'd just get straight to Star Wars Force Awakens because that's what everyone wants to hear.
Yes, that's what I've been waiting to talk about ever since without serving. And keep in mind that before we get into this movie, before we move on, we are not going to get into spoilers yet. We're going to be doing a non-spoiler discussion first. The moment the movie cuts to credits, my first thought was, oh man, I gotta talk to Bandit, because it's just it ends and I'm like, oh, we have so much to discuss. Okay, so Bandit, let's get into Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
And now, our feature presentation.
Okay, so Bandit, we're going to be doing a non-spoiler talk right now give our brief kind of thoughts on what we thought of the movie without giving anything away, because while it made a buttload of money, there were some poor saps who had to take their kids to see the road trip Alvin and the Chipmunks, or some people maybe in China. Or some people maybe in China who don't get it till January 8th who have not seen the movie yet.
Yeah,
I've seen it twice.
Can I just intervene for a second? Because someone on Twitter sent me. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm sorry I can't say the name. But someone on Twitter sent me a photo where it just said "biggest movie squash in history," and it has Star Wars: Force Awakens, and it says December 17, and the next one it has Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, December 17.
Yes,
biggest squash in history.
Yeah,
it's probably true.
I'll tell you what. If I was 8 years old going to see this movie and my parents took me, I'll tell you exactly. My mom would go and see Sisters, that Tina Fey Polar comedy, and then me and my dad would go see Star Wars: Force Awakens because Alvin and the Chipmunks is for losers. And if you like Alvin and the Chipmunks, I will cut you with a lightsaber. Anyways, Bandit, what did you think of Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
I think it was the best remake I've ever seen.
I'm going to keep my cool. I'm going to keep my cool.
Sorry, I did like it. Don't get me wrong. I did like it.
Of course.
And,
I've yet to hear someone say they did not like the movie.
No, I think everyone liked it. And if you didn't like it, you're probably a soulless monster.
Or a Star Trek fan.
Or a Star Trek fan. Yeah, well, even Star Trek fans would probably like it. But, yeah, like, the more I think about it, I feel myself getting a little bit more and more angry about it as I'm like, they played it so safe.
Wow.
And again, it's
I'm the exact opposite.
Non-spoiler section, so I can't give any of the details here as to why I think that. But just to give my general overviews, I really enjoyed it, but I think they played it safe too much. Well, what do you think?
Wow. So let me just, you know how I like to tell stories here. So let me give you the rundown of my night. I had friends who saw it Thursday evening because the first showings were at Thursday at 7. I had tickets for Friday at 7, and so I got to school that day so concerned and so shaky and like jumping, like paranoid, because I know at least 20 people who saw it the night before. And one guy came up to me and was like, "Oh man, did you see it? Wasn't it cool?" And then I grabbed him and I said, "If you ruin this movie for me, I will get you. I will physically harm you." And, you know how Vader like grabs that guy in New Hope and like, where are those Death Star plans?
It throws him into the wall.
Exactly,
like that.
Don't you spoil this for me? And then he's just I throw him down. He's like, Trey, I'm sorry, like this movie means too much for me for you to do that. And so I made it through. I made it through the whole. I knew what the opening shot of the movie was. I got that from reading a review online. I think it might have been on RogerEbert.com. Someone gave away the first shot of the movie, which I was upset at. But
that's not a spoiler. It's like, there's a ship in space. It's like, of course it is. Every trailer starts in space. It's not much of a surprise.
That's just because I had a theory that the first shot was going to be the shot where we see in trailer 3 where Rey removes that thing. And that shot's still in the movie, but it's not the opening shot. That was just a thought I had, but that's okay. Okay. I wasn't that mad afterwards, but my point was I avoided spoilers.
Sure.
And then I got it. And then when I got to the theater, it was like an hour and a half before the movie started. And you could just see there was a guy in there dressed as Kylo Ren. And it was I was in my suit and with my white fedora and my green lightsaber, and I had a kind of a Luke Skywalker thing going on. black on the outside, white on the inside. Wink. And it was such an experience that I wish I could go back and replicate.
Yeah.
Just because, I recorded myself in the theater, talking, like anticipating what I'm going to see. I was at the IMAX. This really was
I
massive.
did too. I recorded the intro thing as well,
Yeah.
which I'll play in a sec for everyone.
Please. It's amazing just how big, how many people this movie has touched. And I think that if you haven't seen it yet, you need to go, like, enjoy the anticipation, because once it's over, it's over. And if especially if you don't like the movie, if you're someone like me who loved it, you're gonna find new things to love about it every time you watch it, like I have apparently. But just enjoy the build up, and lower your expectations, please.
No, I don't think people need to lower their expectations.
Well, I just don't expect it to be the greatest movie of all time. That's what I'm trying to get at.
If those are your expectations, then yeah, lower them.
Don't expect it to be Empire Strikes Back. It doesn't have to be Empire Strikes Back. Don't expect it to be. If you expect it to be as good as the original trilogy, and especially if you consider the original trilogy to be some of the greatest movies of all time, don't expect that, because you're building yourself up for that. Even if it's slightly below it, then it's disappointing. That's how I looked at it. It's like, just want it to be a good movie. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it was interesting because I went to the midnight showing here. I think it was Wednesday night, or was it Thursday night? Whatever. I went to the midnight showing, and there was someone in a Kylo Ren outfit in my thing too, and he was like the only guy dressed up, and I was like, "Good for you, man! You're rocking it." And then we all sit down, and the movie starts, and the guy comes out and he stands out the front of everyone, and he takes off the mask, and he goes, "Thank you, everyone, for coming to Hoyt Cinemas. We'd like to ask that you please don't use any flash photography during the..." So he worked there. That's the only reason he was wearing a costume.
Wow.
I was like, oh.
I saw a lot of Jedis. I saw a couple of Kylo Rens.
A few people had lightsabers. Yeah.
There were some people from the 501st region, whatever they were, that were there, dressed as the stormtroopers, for the Force Awakens stormtroopers, and it was so much fun.
Yeah. See, Americans are more interesting. You guys get hyped about stuff. We don't get hyped.
I got to hold like a really cool replica of Anakin's lightsaber. It was like I have the picture of it, of me standing next to Stormtrooper. I posted it on social media.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I held it, and like the guy handed it to me, and I just went. I'm like, can I keep it? And they're like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, but I want it. Like it was just, I don't know. It just felt so powerful to me to hold Anakin's lightsaber.
Do you want me to play my audio of everyone's reaction?
Sure, go ahead.
It's only about 10 seconds long. Okay, now I started it with the a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So there's going to be a few seconds where it's just you can't hear the movie. It's because that stuff is up.
Was there applause at the Lucasfilm stuff? The Lucasfilm logo?
Yeah, there was a little bit there.
That's when my audience lost their mind, when they saw Lucasfilm. Some people went, yeah!
Mine was silence until the title hit. But then you'll hear in the video, I cut it off quickly because I was holding my phone up for a long time and people were starting to get suspicious.
Yeah.
After the guy said not to record anything on your phone. So anyway, here it is.
That's good.
It's a long pause.
Yeah. 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 Did you notice?
So it got a few woos, but it wasn't totally insane. But that's a big deal in Australian audiences.
Yeah. Did you notice that the crawl music they used was the same one from Revenge of the Sith? I listened to the score a lot. The crawl music, you can. There are subtle differences between each of them. I really thought they were going to go use the New Hope one, but no, they used one for Revenge of the Sith, and so I was like, oh, okay, I like that. But
I was surprised that I've forgotten his name. I'm terrible with names for some reason during the podcast. What's the guy who composes all the Star Wars music?
John Williams.
John Williams, yeah. Because he did this as well, but there didn't seem to be any standout John Williams new kind of themes. Like, with Darth Maul, he had the He didn't really have that for this. Like, he didn't give Kylo Ren a theme whenever he was around.
I think he gave the First Order a theme. I think Rey has a theme. And I think it's something you have to look for when you're listening out to it. I could hear it. Because I went and found the soundtrack on Spotify, and I've been listening to it. I've been jamming out to Force Awakens. I think this score. We're gonna get to that. I'm gonna save it to spoilers. But overall, the movie I think was really, really well done. Starting technically, I thought the shot composition was wonderful. A lot of long, flowing takes. But at the same time, very frantic and its pace. A lot of the action was so well shot, and with the exception of one scene, the effects and the world just felt so lived in, so beautiful. All the puppets, good God, the puppets. Oh,
I think
God.
I know what you mean for one scene. Yeah,
the one scene, and besides that one scene I'm referring to, the other CG characters, the other mocap characters, I thought great. I thought were fantastic.
It
there was
definitely
one
a really good blend, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. I thought maybe they could have touched up more on Maz Kanata, just because everything in that cantina-like setting, when they get to it, was just puppets upon puppets. You could see things wiggling on people's necks. I'm like, if they were to do Gremlins, I think they should do it like how they did Force Awakens. But so when you do meet Maz Kanata, you're like, you can clearly tell like that's a CG effect, but it still looks real. I loved, and going to the story, I thought the story, were there elements similar to A New Hope? Yes, and I pegged that immediately.
Yeah.
The moment
every single element.
Okay, now Bandit, because
we'll save it for spoilers. But
for my sanity, and for the audience's sanity, and for my sanity going back and listening to this, we are going to have to try very hard to not interrupt each other on this episode.
Sure.
It's going to be difficult for both of us. I'm not flagging you on this. This is going to be my problem as well, because I'm going to have thoughts to say.
Yeah. But let's be honest, I'm guilty of interrupting much more.
Yes.
When I always listen back to the podcast, I'm like, God, I interrupt too much. So I'm sorry about that.
I never have a problem with it. Because that's why I talk. That's how me and my friends talk to each other when we're having a nerd debate. But I think right down to the point of right when you see stormtroopers evade an area and someone sticks something in a droid and sends the droid off into a desert, I turned to Christian and I said, okay, this is going to be A New Hope, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, let's just go with it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just ran with it. I had absolutely no problem, and they do something in the third act, which we see on the poster, and and I remember saying that 2 months ago when we first saw the poster, and I said, if they let this giant Death Star beef shank ruin the movie for people, I'm going to be so mad. And guess what the biggest complaint of the movie was, Bandit? Why did they do that to Death Star? That's so lame, you bunch of losers.
Yeah, and a good
it's not the
question.
Not the point.
A valid complaint, I would say.
It's not the point of that third act. The point of it, I think
it's not. It's like, sorry again. Apologies for interrupting again.
No.
I think because I do remember when we talked about this on the podcast previously about a potential Death Star, because we didn't know for sure whether it would be or not, and we said, like, I remember saying, like, if they make the whole plot around this Death Star, it's going to suck having a third one. But if it's just kind of off to the side and it's kind of another thing, then it could be okay. It certainly was not a major thing, but it was so much not a major thing that it really made me wonder, why even have it at all? You seriously could have cut it out, and it would have actually improved the story.
I think it's there for Poe, because they needed something for Poe to do in the third act. But I also think it ties in to this theme of old and new. I think this whole movie, like from the get-go, is about the old and the new. Because what is the first thing without giving anything away, the first thing we see is a Star Destroyer. Sorry, it's every Star Wars movie ever. We get the title crawl, pan down.
Trey, spoilers. There's a Star Destroyer in Star Wars. You've ruined everything now.
Camera pans down after the crawl. We're going to get to the crawl and spoilers. Camera pans down. We see the Star Destroyer, and then Desert Planet, and you're like, okay, and it's and right off the bat, the plot is very familiar. I think they move some things around, but I think they put just enough new stuff in there. And I think when the new stuff really comes into the mythology of the movie, it's the setup that's new. This movie, and I said this back when the poster came out, I said, this movie is meant to be the the awakening of the franchise. We needed a good movie to get everyone back in again. Because think about it, the prequels when they first came out, they did new stuff. They gave us a new story. They gave us tax federations, and they gave us the Republic, and we didn't like that. So what did they do in this one? They said, fine, we'll give you a New Hope for this one. And it really was kind of an amalgam of New Hope, Empire, and Jedi by the time the movie came out and ended. And so now, now as we move on into episode 8, which I'm so stoked for, we are now going to get that new story that we're craving for. We're now going to get that originality and that creativity that I think the plot needs right now. Because I'll give you this, band. If they do another Death Star in episode 8, I'll be on your page and I will hate
well, actually,
that.
I've got a little bit of a fan theory that I'll share with you later about that.
Okay, because this movie needed to be the reawakening of the Force. This movie needed to bring people back into Star Wars. And in order for that to happen, I think they needed to do a lot of familiar beats, which I had no problem with.
Well, going back as well, like before we go into spoilers, going back as well to what you're saying about it follows kind of a similar pattern of storytelling to A New Hope. J.J. Abrams actually gave a talk, I think it was a TED Talk a while back, which is a kind of storytelling that he calls the magic box. He refers to it as the magic box, and he uses A New Hope as an example of this kind of storytelling. And it was definitely, you could see that playing out, which is like magic box, you open up one side and then it opens the other side, which opens another side, which opens another side. And he says like A New Hope is like that, because it's like the droid needs to, the droid has this message. Well, what is this message? And you see the message, then it opens up, I need Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then you're like, well, who is Obi-Wan Kenobi? Then it goes to Obi-Wan Kenobi and he finds out about, there's this thing called the Jedi and the Force. What is the Jedi and the Force? And it's sort of, each thing kind of leads to another. And that was also very evident here in The Force Awakens, which is a big part of why it feels Star Wars-y. People said it feels like a Star Wars movie. And it's because he followed that story-making pattern. But if you can find that TED Talk on YouTube or anywhere else, it's actually a good way. You could really sort of see it working. I just want to say that anyway.
Okay. Well, before we get into spoilers, let's talk about some of the characters.
Sorry, there was
sorry. No, go ahead.
But I did actually find sort of in the second act, this is what I was leading to, I forgot before. There is a bit in the second act where leading to this thing, leading to this thing, leading to this thing, and we can talk about it more in spoilers, but just after Han Solo is introduced, there's an action scene, which was at a point where I was kind of like, okay, can we move along, please? Because I want to find out the bigger story. But it's which again is similar to A New Hope. They free Princess Leia, and then it leads into them in the garbage compactor, and then the garbage compactor starts to crush them. But before that, there's this monster, so there's these hurdles. But in this, maybe it was just my impatience of wanting to find out what's going on in this universe, that the characters having to jump all these hurdles for me. There was times, especially in the second act, where I was like, "Come on, move along. I don't really care." And I found a lot of people with that particular scene, which we'll talk about later, have said that there's something you could have gotten rid of.
Yes. How do you feel about the characters? What were some of your highlights for the characters?
I like all of them. I don't think there was any really weak characters.
Phasma.
Phasma. Yes.
Who is
of course,
the new Boba Fett for and the award for doing absolutely nothing. In The Force Awakens goes to Captain Phasma. The award for the most hyped character.
I made a note to talk about her because here's the thing, right? Yeah, Brienne of Tarth. Gwendolyn Christie plays Phasma.
Yes.
And J.J. Abrams said that Captain Phasma was his favorite character in A New Hope. Force Awakens, sorry. And that wasn't intentional, by the way. No mistake.
It's okay.
But a lot of her scenes got cut and all this sort of stuff, so there's almost nothing there, is what she does. But Gwendolyn Christie made a tweet where she says, J.J. Abrams says that Captain Phasma was his favorite character in Force Awakens. That's like saying that Captain Moti is your favorite character in A New Hope. And for those who don't know, Captain Moti is the guy who says to Vader, "Your sad devotion to that ancient religion," and then he gets choked.
I'll tell you what, that's one of my favorite characters in that movie. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I love that guy.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe, and then he gets choked.
We talked about that guy's backstory a couple weeks, like last week or whatever.
Yeah. He's also the guy who rides the Imperial Walker in the start of the Empire Strikes Back battle. I think it is the Battle of Hoth.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless.
Yeah, I think Phasma. I don't. She's not.
She drew the short straw. Poor old Phasma.
Yes. though I do think she'll be back. And whenever Jesus, spoilers. I do think she'll be back. And I think hopefully they will give, because Gwendolyn Christie is so, like, when she's in it, it's great. She's great as that character. She's imposing. She feels like the captain of this squadron. She feels like, very much the second in command to Ren and Hux. Who will get to, I think I just wish they would have given her more to do. But at the same time, there was a lot happening in this movie. So it makes sense that someone got, it's like Age of Ultron. It makes sense that Thor got short-sighted because they had so much to do.
But I think the sad thing with Phasma, though, is like, again, we can't talk about it until spoilers, but like some of the scenes that kind of make her look not that good later on in the second half, I was like, you could have easily swapped that, like, I'm trying not to give spoilers, but they need someone to do a certain something that helps the good guys. They could
just put Hux there.
Yes, that's what I thought. I was like, just use him. He's Weasley little guy. Just don't depower Captain Phasma, who's supposed to be, and depowering of villains is nothing I want to talk about, David.
Okay.
Should we just jump into spoilers? Because I
just want to. What would you give it out of 10 for the people who are going to have to leave? What would you give it out of 10?
Okay, I'd give it. I'd probably give it like 7.5, like almost an 8, which is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, look, that's not bad. But I can see the comments now. You hated the movie. You moved the movie was terrible because.
No, if I hated it, I would have given it like a 5 or something.
Yeah.
So.
Look, no one. Oh man. Okay. All right. See, I liked it a lot more than you did. I feel like this is like our first kind of like I don't know. I think this is weird about how.
Can I revise that? I'd say, as a standalone movie, it's an 8. As a new addition to the franchise, I'd say it's like a 5 or a 6, because it just rehashes so much of the stuff. It doesn't break new ground.
Star really hurts you, huh?
Yeah, and lots of other stuff we'll talk about. So that's what I'd say. So.
Okay. See, I think I'm giving up on defending the fact that they retread a lot of the elements, just because people are going to look at my point and be like, yeah, but they still did it, so it's stupid, and they're not going to listen to my point. So when I first saw it, I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I really had a great time with this movie, and the moment it finished, I was just shaking in my seat. I'm like, I don't know how to handle this, because they just drop all these bombs in the last I hit my door in like the last 6-7 minutes of this movie, and you're just like, wait, and then it ends. You're just like, wait, what are you? I'm like, Christian, let's go see episode 8, because you don't. And so, but after going back and watching a second time, knowing what's being led into, knowing what's going to happen. This movie, and just appreciating everything that it does. The devil really was in the details with this one. Then that's both good and bad.
Or the lack
some
of
points.
details in other instances.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like in good and it's good and bad in other points. But we'll get to that in spoilers. And so I'm now raising my score to an astounding 9.5 out of 10. I loved this movie. I thought.
That's a very favorable response.
I know.
My goal is to drag you down and to crush your dreams by the end of this.
I was watching this movie, and I'm trying to sit here and I'm thinking, I'm like, why isn't this stuff bothering me? And I think I'm like, because what they're trying to get across is working so well. And as a film fan, it's such a beautiful film too. So I really loved it. I might go see it a third time sometime. I'm seeing it a third time. My cousin is seeing it on Christmas, so I'm seeing it a third time. Hopefully in IMAX again, because that was so cool to see in IMAX.
It's like we say, like the amount of stuff we're willing to overlook is connected to how much fun we're having. So the more fun the movie is allowing you to have, the more you don't care about stuff like this. That's one of the reasons why, A New Hope, nobody complains about, there's tons of stuff in that to complain about.
Oh my God.
But nobody cares.
We tore it to shreds.
Yeah.
We tore New Hope to shreds.
But we still love it. Yeah.
Exactly. And now here's the thing. This movie is the right kind of fun too, before we go into spoilers. This movie is the right kind of fun. It's not like Jurassic World or Expendables or more stupid fun movies like that where you're just like, well, it's fun because stuff's happening, it's explosions. No, this is fun.
The humor did feel a little bit Guardians of the Galaxy for me.
You think so?
I was like, it's I don't know. This is just super nitpicking, but I think the kind of humor in the original trilogy was not as goofy as that. You know,
where it was given to kind of like one or two characters as opposed to everyone. I don't know. I guess I like that kind of humor of where, you know, everyone can kind of have their moment to shine. And the funny characters were essentially the funny characters. You know, BB-8 was a highlight. Okay, but
you know what I mean? Like in that scene where like Han Solo and Luke are like talking after they've saved Princess Leia, and Luke's like, "Oh, what do you think of her?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm trying not to." And he's like, "Good." And then he goes, "Still a lot of spirit. You think a princess and a guy like me?" And he goes, "No." Like, that's funny. That's kind of like a bit more of a subtle humor than Finn being like, "I'm in charge now. I'm in charge. You got it. I'm in charge." And Han having to go, "Hey, calm down."
I loved that.
Which was hilarious, don't get me wrong.
I loved it.
But it's more kind of a goofy, it's less of a subtle, intelligent kind of humor. But again, that's just super nitpicking.
I don't know if I wouldn't call that I wouldn't call that humor.
I think so, because it's more subtle that he's messing with Luke, you know, rather than Luke just acting like a clown, you know.
Okay. Well, you know, that is major nitpicky. Way to try and crush my dreams. Okay. All right, Banda, let's get
That's my goal. I'm trying to destroy your fan heart.
Turn
to the dark side.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? The nitpicks, the backlash.
Sure.
This movie's gonna get a lot of backlash over the next year and a half. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna, just like when I saw Man of Steel and I thought that was awesome, and like people saw that and they were just like, "What about this? What about this?" And like, oh Jesus, I can see it now.
You know, it's only a year and a half till the next one, which is unprecedented. Normally it's 3 years between movies. A year and a half.
Exactly.
It'll be here before we even know it.
Well, we're getting Rogue One. We're getting Rogue One like in less than a year now. We're getting Star Wars Rogue One, which I think it's going to be a nice palate cleanser before we get Episode 8. So I'm just gonna.
Yeah, totally. So shall we go to spoilers?
Let's get into spoilers.
Okay.
All right, Han Solo died. So
Han Solo dies. Yes, he pulls an Obi-Wan Kenobi and sacrifices himself to a guy in a black mask with a red lightsaber that he has a personal connection with and a long history with.
I can't wait for
his Force ghost to show up in the next episode.
Oh boy.
And lecture Rey about, you know.
This is probably my main problem with the movie. Is how they handled the death of Han Solo. You know,
really?
First of all, it was very telegraphed. Like,
totally.
It was the equivalent of a black guy going 2 days from retirement in like a cop movie. You know,
and wearing a Star Trek red shirt at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. While wearing a red shirt, while having sex in a camp, you know, near a lake. You know, it's just like you're a goner. You were toast.
Add on
to the fact that Harrison Ford does not like Star Wars, and you know, it's just.
Well, I don't mind because, like I said in my review, I mean they're going to pass the torch from the old crew to the new crew, so they're going to have to shelve the old crew in one way or another. So you know one of them's going to die.
No, I don't mind that.
Could kill Leia, but nobody cares.
I don't mind that Harrison Ford died. That's not my problem. Yeah. My problem is that I didn't feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't like I should have been the way, you know, Chewie reacted, the way, you know, Rey reacted. Again, a very good parallel to New Hope. I thought I should have been like, no. I should have been pissed, and instead I was just like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't feel the weight of what Kylo Ren was going to do to Han, and it, you know, which is a shame because for all the development that we get of Kylo Ren's character and the complexity of this guy, for that this arguably one of the biggest scenes of the movie, you know, I think for it to be handled so poorly was just kind of.
You know what I thought would have been great, and they probably wouldn't have done this, but because you know, like he stabs Han, he falls down, Chewie starts shooting, and he gets hit in the gut. I thought. Would have been nice if after Han Solo gets run through, Han Solo shoots him in the gut.
That would have been cool.
Because he like just gets one last shot in, and I know it's his son, so they probably wouldn't do it because it's too dark or whatever. But I thought that would have been great.
Okay, all right. So Kylo Ren
it's like that bit in Inglorious.
Kylo Ren has a lightsaber. Kylo Ren has a lightsaber up to him, and he's just like, I've been looking forward to this for a long time, Father. And Han Solo's like, yes, I bet you have. And like as he stabs him, he falls over and shoots him in the gut.
Yeah, it'd be like that bit in Inglourious Bastards where that guy gets shot and the girl rolls him over and he pulls his gun and goes. That'd be awesome if they did that.
Yeah, that was. It wasn't nice moment to see him touch his face though. That would have.
Yeah.
You know, for him to be like, I'm sorry you were going down this path, because there's no coming back from that, right?
Kylo Ren for being evil because his own father tried to kill him.
Yeah.
But only after he was run through, yeah.
I mean, I think, and also the poor handling of that death, I think, makes the Han and Leia scenes seem a bit weightless to me. I don't know if it's Carrie Fisher's performance as Leia, or if it's just, there's something about the Han and Leia and Kylo Ren dynamic that I just thought did not work in the slightest.
Can I read you this? Because there was this was in a comment for another video. I think it was Chris Stuckman's review of the movie. But I took a screenshot of this comment because it's so good. I wanted to read it to you. Here's a summary of the movie in his words. A droid carrying valuable information is left on a desert planet. The droid is discovered by a lonely young person who appears to leave said desert planet behind. I could edit in. This person is also left as an orphan from their family, from one way or another. He says, the hero meets up with an older mentor who tells them about the Force and the Jedi. That's true. The mentor takes the hero to a bar/hangout of scum and villainy, where they meet someone who helps them on their journey. They need to find a rebellion/resistance and fight the massive evil organization. And the mentor sacrifices themselves and is killed by a man wearing black, carrying a red lightsaber. And the evil side has built a massive super weapon capable of destroying planets. And the rebellion must assemble with the best pilots to attack the super weapon's weak spot. Literally describes both A New Hope and Force Awakens.
Yes.
That is such a great comment. But he's right. Everything he says is right. It's beat for beat, story point for story point, exactly the same as A New Hope. And
but they throw in so much new stuff.
No, they don't.
I don't see. Yes.
No, they don't.
Yes, they.
It's
yes,
all
they do.
Every single thing in this movie is recycled.
Really?
Yep. Name it, and I'll tell you where it's recycled from.
The final fight between Ren, Rey, and Finn.
Yeah, that's taken. Okay, well, that wasn't in A New Hope. Okay.
That's one Bandit.
Yes,
that's one.
The one and only thing that they had in that. All right. Well, I suppose you could say it was maybe from Return of the Jedi, but anyway, look. Granted, that didn't happen, but Han Solo dying is Obi-Wan Kenobi dying, so that's a copy.
Yeah.
Death Star again, exhaust port again.
I loved that the second time around. I don't know. I think there's something really, really meta about it. Because think about it,
main character losing their family, so finds a surrogate father in the mentor, and then the surrogate father dies by, a guy who is probably an actual relative. That's all there. See, here's my problem. Like, I enjoy it, but the more I think about it, it kind of makes me a little bit angry, because I'm like, I was like, okay, it's a great movie, but let's not pretend that this is a new movie. Let's not pretend this is a new story. It's not. It's the same movie we've seen before. Like, he's laughing at all of us right now. He did nothing different. And it's like, I know to pacify all the Star Wars super fans, you need to have all that to make them think it still feels like Star Wars. But they didn't try anything new. Anything. There's still an Emperor. There's still a super weapon. It's all exactly the same. I was like, couldn't they try something? Take some kind of risk.
This is where I will throw in that the devil is in the details, or in this case, the angel's in the details, because you have the movie open with the shot of the Star Destroyer over at Starkiller Base, or whatever, and then it goes to Jakku, and then you have the assault from the stormtroopers, in which they take out the resistance fighters or whatever, with the brief cameo by Max von Sydow, by the way. I have no idea what he was doing in this movie, and then you have someone get captured while they send their droid away, and then we meet Finn, Finn is a character of which I don't think we've seen before in the Star Wars universe. Or at least in the movies. We have the Stormtrooper who has left. We have a defect, and he is now, our way of getting our prince. Our if you want to keep the parallels going, getting our Resistance fighter back onto Jakku, and then we meet Rey and we see what Rey is doing. Luke Skywalker was a moisture farmer. He was never, he wasn't out there scavenging Star Destroyers. He wasn't out there, trying to survive alone in this world. No, he had his family. He had his
details. Yeah. But it's still the same thing.
So
it's
you're
someone
telling me
who's basically an orphan on a planet that they want to escape.
Now listen, Bandit. You're telling me that with other movies, if there are details that bug you, it can bring down the movie. But when I'm presenting you details that allow you, that really make up the movie besides the basic plot, you're telling me that it doesn't matter because the plot is still the same as A New Hope.
No. See, look, that's not it. Look, see, my problem with that kind of thinking, and also with a lot of the stuff online, is, yeah, it's like the little details are changed, but the underlying theme is still exactly the same. That's like if I bring you a cake, and you go, a cake with a strawberry on top, and you're like, great. And then I bring you another cake, but I've just taken the strawberry off. You're like, oh, it's a totally different piece of cake.
I'm not saying this is not a New
The
Hope.
ingredients are exactly the same, only I don't have a strawberry on top this time. Are you so dumb that you think that's a totally different slice of cake? No, it's exactly the same, apart from that one thing. It's the same thing with here, or like with...
I'm not a Bandit.
Sorry, I don't mean to attack you.
I'm not stupid. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm telling you, dude, I'm a YouTuber. I've read so much worse. No, I'm keep going.
It's like people like I've been talking with my subscribers in the comment section about, like, they even had the exhaust port for the Death Star, and like one of the comments was like, no, it wasn't an exhaust port for the Death Star because there was like a cover on it. They had to place charges under it. You had to shoot it, and I'm like, details. It's an exhaust port. That's what it's there for.
Oh yeah.
Which I could not believe, by the way. I couldn't believe it. I will
absolutely give you the Death Star.
Yeah. Well, I actually thought when they brought up the plans and they're like, oh, here's the weak spot, like, my first reaction was like, oh my god, I can't believe that they're copying everything to such a huge extent and nobody seems to be noticing. But then my next reaction was, I thought, actually, maybe they're going to do something clever here. Maybe they're going to make it that the First Order has put in what seems to be an exhaust port like that on purpose to trick the rebellion. Like, maybe they'll attack it and then nothing will happen. And like General Hux or whatever will be like, haha, suckers! And then they'll blow up all these planets. I thought that'd be great, but no, it's just the same thing again.
I do think, it is essentially the same movie. But, the way I look at it, is that a bad thing?
Yes.
Why?
Because this is supposed to be a new trilogy.
It's supposed to be a new trilogy, but this is supposed to be a reintroduction that retells the story that we've gotten in a new light. This is not the exact same movie. It's not. And
they've just replaced the strawberry with a slice of banana. That's it.
No,
that's all they've done. See, this is why it makes me angry. It's like, if you're at a restaurant, you order a piece of cake, and they just do that. They try to swap a strawberry for a slice of banana and tell you it's a totally different cake. You get angry. That's why I'm getting angry. The more I think about it.
Bandits. I don't think that analogy is as valid as you think it is. I would be upset if someone tried to send me a different cake with just a banana instead of a strawberry. I look at it, if we're going to use your cake analogy, I look at it as more of, let's say we have a vanilla cake, a plain old vanilla cake with some vanilla frosting on it.
Yeah.
I'd say, I'd say this is more of a marble cake with chocolate frosting. You still have the vanilla in there.
How? The ingredients are exactly the same.
But it's
how's it a different cake if you've got the exact same ingredients?
Bandits. Now you still have the vanilla in there, and it's still very prominent in the cake, but you have it mixed in with the chocolate, and you have the chocolate frosting there. You have this new look around it, and inside of the inside the cake, there are new elements in there as well.
Sure. Okay. Granted. But you know what other movie franchise follows that same pattern? Transformers.
Oh, hell.
Exactly the same thing every single time. They just change a few details, and everybody, like total idiots, is like, well, this one's different. No, it's the same movie over and over. So I don't want that to happen to Star Wars.
Well, here's the difference between Transformers and Star Wars. Here, let's take Age of Extinction, for example. Age of Extinction in the first one. Age of Extinction has a MacGuffin that the Decepticons are going to use to destroy the world. Great. Star Wars. They have the Death Star that's going to destroy some planets. Awesome. Same thing. Difference being, you have really good characters, an incredibly well-developed villain, a really great introduction to a new mythology, and unanswered questions that leave you excited and wanting more, and new types of characters that we have yet to see in these kinds of movies, and all that with a return of characters that we know before. Sure, Han Solo is playing the Obi-Wan Kenobi role. That doesn't mean that this is Obi-Wan Kenobi. If they brought back Luke Skywalker as the Ben Kenobi role, and he was acting like Ben Kenobi and then died at the end, I'd give you that point more than if they brought back Han Solo. Because while you see what I'm saying, where it's like it's the vanilla is still in the cake, but you can see the chocolate there, of where it's like it's the same thing, yeah, but they're doing something. They're doing different aspects of it. I don't think they're just I don't think these are just minor tweaks to the New Hope. I think that they are taking the plot of A New Hope, which it's ultimately it's a basic plot of a hero rescuing the princess.
But why can't they just tell a new story?
I think we're gonna get that in episode 8.
We should have got it in this. This is supposed to be the beginning of a new trilogy. That's what makes me angry.
Exactly. This needs to be the reintroduction to the franchise. This needs to be the one that says this is not the prequels, where this is classic Star Wars. That being said, let's move on. That's what this movie needs to be.
I understand that, but do they need to copy every single thing?
They didn't need. They didn't need the Death Star. They didn't need the Death Star. I'll give you the Death Star. Though, but I think having the droid go on the desert planet, I think that's fine. Because
the only two things is different is Finn's story, and that you have Rey beat Kylo Ren at the end of this movie instead of at the end of this trilogy, which is another problem which we'll talk about later. Those are the only two new things in this.
Ooh, I got you with the Rey stuff. Okay, Bandit. Since we're not going to agree on this, can we at least agree that the whole movie, while having very similar elements to A New Hope, is very well made?
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
well acted.
I do not think it's a bad movie at all.
No.
I just
because it's the way you're describing it. It makes it seem like you don't like it. That's
I know. And the more I talk about it, the more worked up I get. But no, I don't think it's a bad movie. It just it just disappoints me that they played it so safe and they didn't take any risks.
Okay.
And just it annoys me when filmmakers do that. And I understand why they do, because they don't want endless complaining from Star Wars fans, which would be endless complaining.
Yes.
So I understand. It makes total sense that you don't take any risks, because if you mess up the first one, you never hear the end of it. But I think I would have respected them more if they actually made a new story instead of just retelling A New Hope again.
I'll tell you what,
but I'm not saying
if episode 8 opens with the Resistance on a planet, and then the First Order invades, which causes and Rey is with training with Luke, and then John Boy goes off on another adventure, meets a new character. If that's how episode 8 goes, I'll be right there with you, being like, why are you retelling the original trilogy? Because I just think that this movie, I don't want to say gets away with it, but I think I'm okay with it, just because I think this movie needed to be the way it was. Right. But let's move on to the plot.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like, hopefully the next one will be more original, because I think people are willing to overlook all the similarities now because they're just so happy to have Star Wars back. But if the next movie comes out and it's that Kylo Ren is trying to find Rey because he knows she's powerful in the Force, so he kidnaps Finn to lure her out, and then she's like, I gotta go save Finn, and Luke is like, no, you must complete your training.
Oh my god, yeah.
If they do all that, then J.J. Abrams is going to be hung, drawn, and quartered, even though he's not directing the next one.
I have faith in Rian Johnson. Because Rian Johnson, who did Looper's writing and directing episode 8, so I have faith in what they're doing.
Actually, let me tell you, we'll circle back to the movie, but let me tell you really quickly my crazy fan theory.
Okay.
All right, because here's the thing, because I was actually recording this when you called me, which is why I didn't answer the first time you called. I was just finishing recording this. But, with Rey, everyone's like, she's probably Luke's daughter, right? Like a lot of
Yes.
people think that. She's probably Luke's daughter. But I thought about it and I thought, actually, wouldn't it be cool if it turns out she's actually related to Palpatine?
That was another theory I had too.
Like maybe Palpatine is her uncle. And I thought that would make so much sense because it would make sense why she could like embrace the Force so quickly and was so powerful so quickly, why she could beat up Kylo Ren, why she was in hiding at the start because if her uncle is Space Hitler, you don't tell anyone that. I thought that'd be great. And I thought, again, which we'll talk about later, one of the problems I had is that she beat up Kylo Ren at the end of this, so if they face each other again now, there's not going to be as much tension. But I thought, wouldn't it be great if she finds out she's Palpatine's relative, maybe his niece or whatever, she turns evil, Kylo Ren turns good, and then they face each other again. That would be epic. That would be really good if they take a risk like that. And it's possible, because, you know, like with the whole Vader reveal as Luke's father, that was added very late in the movie. So even if they are planning to go that Rey is Luke's daughter, they could change it to that if they wanted to.
Yeah, they
later
could.
on.
They could. I'm sorry, I'm yawning.
See, something like that, I think would be fantastic if they do it in the next one. So hopefully, let's hope they don't remake Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, if we're talking, I think we're still gonna get an Empire Strikes Back style ending, which should not upset you. I think we're still gonna get. This is gonna be a dark movie. Episode 8 is gonna be horribly dark. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make it a rehash of Empire. Never mind. Okay, so I think it'd be interesting if you know how Kylo Ren was struggling to try and he had the light in him still, and Han Solo was essentially. Him killing Han Solo was him trying to bring himself to the dark side completely. Which they never actually say he is now officially full in the dark side. That line's never stated, though it's heavily implied. I'll give you that much.
Kylo Ren in this, his character, which I loved, is the total inversion of Luke in Return of the Jedi. Where Luke feels the pull of the dark side, manages to reject it at the end. This is he feels the pull of the light side, manages to reject it at the end. So I love that.
This is what Anakin Skywalker should have been. This is exactly what Anakin should have been.
Yeah, that's. I almost said that in my review, but I didn't because I didn't want to give spoilers. I was like, if Anakin was done well, he would have been Kylo Ren. Here. Sorry,
I'm trying to finish. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just we went on another tangent. How cool would it be if by the end of Episode 9 we have, through some crazy series of original events, we now have Rey fighting for the dark side and Kylo Ren fighting for the light side.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know how they do it. I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a movie director. Yeah. But how cool would that be? That's original. That's something we haven't seen before.
You set up the flip for each of them in Episode 8, and then they fight again in Episode 9. That'd be fantastic.
Like say Episode 8 ends with like Rey killing Luke or something. I don't know. But like something like major, like something like that happens, and then credits. Episode 9, they fight each other. Just to. And
I think that's their only way out of the problem they set up with. Do you want to get into the whole thing of Kylo Ren getting totally whooped?
Well, totally.
I want to get into it just because a lot of people have a lot to say. Here was my thinking, because in my video I said I don't like that Rey beat up Kylo Ren so thoroughly at the end there, because you need to keep your villain strong until the end of the trilogy. When you're telling like one story across like all 3 movies like this, if you're having a recurring villain, you need to keep them strong until the end, because if you beat them at the beginning, it's not going to feel important if they face each other again. Like the example I used in the video was Luke went up against Vader in Empire. He wasn't properly trained. He got whooped. So that's why in Return of the Jedi there was tension where like, can he summon the strength to defeat him this time? There's not going to be that tension with Rey and Kylo again because she's already beaten him so thoroughly.
I disagree. And here's why. And after watching the second time, Rey is on the back foot from Kylo Ren's attack until she taps into the Force. And we'll get to that. And we'll get to that in a second here when she actually taps into the Force before she trounces him. And trounce is kind of a weird word. She stands her ground. And I think at this point, Kylo Ren, he's been bleeding out by what Chewie shot when Chewie caught him in the abdomen. He's kind of he's a little exhausted from the Finn fight, which is a great fight, by the way, the Finn fight. But that being said, I think Kylo Ren, from what we've heard and what we've been told, he has not fought anyone with a lightsaber since he turned to the dark side. He has not had to fight Jedi since he turned to the dark side. And so Kylo Ren, and even Snoke said, now it's time to complete his training. Kylo Ren never had a complete in his training either. Kylo Ren, well, granted, Kylo Ren was good with his lightsaber and he was good with the Force. He's never had to fight a Jedi before. So it makes sense when Rey, who, as of right now, it's very hinted that it's very hinted towards that she is the daughter of Luke Skywalker, who, as far as we know as of right now, is the most powerful Jedi around. So it makes sense that when she taps into the Force, right away she's like, you can argue that she's been tapping into the Force this entire movie. It's kind of been building to this moment, like right back when she's on the Falcon, and she's like, she has that sense of like, like with Luke on the trench run, where she's just like with the Falcon, like, I'll flip this over, and I have a feeling this is gonna work, and it shows
her being good in the Force suddenly explains why she's able to do everything really well that she's never done before.
It's
the magical writing tool that helped the prequel so well. The Force.
God, I almost swore. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I almost dropped the D word. I don't want to swear this podcast.
Please continue.
She's fought with her staff before, which shows that she knows how to fight before. She's not capable of kicking some tush. Also, it shows that she and Kylo Ren are very much, I don't want to say, she's on par with him in terms of how powerful she can be with the Force. And that's why Snoke says, bring her to me, because he understands she is someone as just as powerful as Kylo Ren, because she's able to use the Force and deflect what Kylo Ren is doing back on her. And Kylo Ren, ultimately, which is what I love about his character, he really is a kind of a poser. And Rey figured this out. Rey says, you just want to be you're scared not as good as Darth Vader, because he's not. He hasn't had training against other Jedi. He hasn't been able. He's a villain and he's powerful with the Force, but that's just because he hasn't had anyone to really match him. And so Snoke is kind of
all right. I hear what you're saying, and
yes,
it does make sense that he loses. I'm not arguing that it doesn't make sense, because yes, he got shot with Chewie's blaster, which they established earlier on packs one hell of a punch. Yes, he's already tired from his fight with Luke. Yes, he's confused and all that because he just killed his dad. It makes sense. It totally does, okay? I don't buy in with this whole thing that he's never had an actual lightsaber fight before. I don't agree with that at all, because he's been trained by Luke as a Jedi and by Snoke as a Sith. He hasn't finished his Sith training yet, but this is a guy who spent basically his entire life training in the Force, training with lightsaber combat, probably with other students. So just on that alone, he should be able to push through a blast in the guts. Apparently that turns him into this quivering man baby, and he gets whooped immediately, pretty much. Well, not immediately, okay, but look, all of that. Look, it makes sense, and you can come up with 500 bazillion reasons as to why he lost the fight. He did. That's a bad choice storytelling, is what I'm saying. So it makes sense. They set it up, and as a standalone movie, it makes sense because you defeat the villain at the end of the movie. But this is a trilogy. You need to keep your villain strong to the end. Vader, defeated in the last movie. Sauron, Lord of the Rings, defeated in the last movie. The guy with no nose in the Harry Potter movies, Voldemort, last movie. Harry Osborn in the Sam Raimi things. He's not killed until the end movie. You don't defeat your main villain in the very first movie, because structurally it doesn't work. Where do you go after that? The hero defeating the villain is like climbing to the peak of the mountain. Once you climb to the peak of the mountain, you can't reclimb. You can go down and climb up there again, but it's not going to feel as special as the first time you... Hang on. So, the only trilogy, because a lot of people brought this up, so the only trilogy I can think of where the villain gets defeated in the very first movie is The Matrix. Neo.
That's not a good one.
Exactly. That's the only trilogy that's done it, and look how it turned out. Neo beats Agent Smith at the end of the first movie, and that's a big part of the reason as to why their fights in the next couple movies don't feel important, because he's already beaten him. Once he's done that, you can't redo it with the same importance. So I'm worried that they've shot themselves in the foot by doing that. And if you, she had, when she touched the lightsaber and she had visions of the future, and you see one of the visions, it could have been a vision of the past, we don't know, but it was him with what looked like all the other Knights of Ren. If he comes back and takes all the Knights of Ren and goes up against her in the next one to try to level the playing field, that's the Matrix Reloaded fight, where he copies himself. I don't want him to be Agent Smith, and I think they've made a serious problem here. That's why if they flip Rey to evil and him to good, I think that's the only way they can really recover from that mistake.
Okay.
So unless they're planning that, I think it's a mistake.
I think you're looking at this, and I think what you're I'm trying not to offend you when I say this. I think you're taking what happens in this movie and expecting this trilogy to end the way Return of the Jedi ends. I think
it doesn't have to. I'm just saying there's a reason that no other trilogies ever do this. There's a reason for it. And the only one that has done it...
I was making another point. Harry Potter, by the way, as someone who followed the Harry Potter series since he was 4 years old, Harry has defeated Voldemort on several occasions. Once when he was a baby, another in the first movie, and another time in the fourth movie before he finally kills him. I think there's a difference between killing and defeating, and I think Harry Potter did that very well. Ray defeated, and also going because you talked a long time, so I wrote stuff down here while you were talking. I think you need to go back and watch this movie again, because if you go back and watch that Ray versus Kylo Ren fights, it's not as much as a trouncing as you might think. She defeats him for sure, but it was they were on equul footing. It was only when a
win is still a win, right?
She got a lucky shot in there after watching because. For up until he's like, I can train you, I can be in the Force, which is another thing you can break up. Like maybe he didn't want to kill her, but and he's like, I can train you in the Force, and she's like, the Force, and she uses her family genes and she taps into that Force power, and she starts fighting back, but she's not like taking him down. She gets lucky shots, and then she gets that one shot of where she slices through his lightsaber, and then gets him in the face. That's more of a. I don't think that's not necessarily her being more skilled than he is. That's more of her being the crafty character that we've seen her be before. We've seen her, she's smart. She knows how to figure things out. So when she sees Kylo Ren's lightsaber and she's like, okay, I got it on the ground. What can I do now? Okay, I'll slice through it, then I'll slice him up. That makes sense. That's something that she would do.
So if they fight again in the next movie, are you going to be as excited?
I will be.
Really?
Because
even though it's the same people and she's already beaten him once.
Well, because now
it's like John Cena in the WWE. They're like, can he overcome the odds? And you're like, yeah, of course he can. He always does.
Oh boy. This is falling apart quickly. He's going to come back more powerful than you possibly imagine. Because
just like Agent Smith, where he multiplies himself, doesn't make a difference.
But once
you've climbed that peak, climbing it again doesn't mean as much. See what I'm saying?
But because it's not the Wachowskis doing this. It's Rian Johnson. It's J.J. Abrams. It's Kathleen Kennedy. I have faith in these guys.
Mistake.
But no, they're not. No, Bandit, they're not. And here's why. Snoke's going to train him. He's going to come back more powerful, probably with some cybernetic enhancements, just like Finn. Maybe they'll get Finn to fight him. I don't know. They'll do something. I have faith in the creative team behind these movies that they're not going to mess it up.
All right. Let me try a different analogy. Let's say this is the podcast of analogies. Let's say you've got your favorite coffee mug, right? And you've had this for ages. It's your favorite coffee mug. It's got sentimental value. And I pick it up and I smash it on the ground in front of you. That's going to affect you, right? Because it's your favorite coffee mug. Now, if I take that coffee mug and I glue it back together again, and I go, oh, here you go. Here's your coffee mug. And I smash it a second time. Are you going to be as upset that second time? No. You wouldn't care as much the second time, because once it's done, it's done. It doesn't matter if you do it again. No. So I don't care how many cybernetic enhancements they give him, how much help they give him. She's already beaten him once. It's not going to be as special as if you build it up over 3 movies and have it as the climax.
Let me add on your analogy here. Okay, let's say that you destroy the coffee mug, and then we fight. And then I take you down, and then you come back more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Bandit, this is... I think.
But do you see what I'm saying?
You're using. I see what you're saying.
Once you
but
lose,
I don't think the correlation works between your analogy and you're giving some bad analogies this episode. But think about it.
It's like Walking Dead with all their death fake outs. You keep doing it, and it doesn't matter.
Okay. I think they're setting. Okay. I'm trying to figure out a way, because I'm not going to convince you. I'm trying to make you understand where I'm coming from. You're using the Matrix. Keep that in mind, Bandit.
Well, that's the only example of anyone else who's done this, and it hasn't worked well. That's why I think it's a bad mistake. Unless they're going to flip, the bad guy to the good guy and the good girl to the bad girl, that's the only other way they can get around this. I don't know what they're going to do.
Okay, so Bandit.
I mean, or they could kill him and replace him with a new villain, but that's what the prequels
No.
did. They kept swapping all the villains out. We don't want to do that either.
No, Kylo Ren's living until episode 9. But tell you what, Bandit, since something's gonna get resolved here, I actually posted something on the Movie Mania Facebook page.
Just then,
and I'd actually like to no, this weekend, and I actually asked people to give us their thoughts. So we're gonna I want to take some time here to read off some thoughts, because we also have listener questions. That we have banked up, so I'm going to read some of the listeners'
We're not wrapping up
thoughts.
the discussion, are we? I still got loads of stuff written down here.
No, I have a lot of notes. This is going to be a long show. I think I have like 12 points, and one of them was raise a descendant of Luke so she could be a powerful Jedi.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm hoping she'll be a descendant of Palpatine. That'd be awesome.
I think that's a great idea. I think
then
the
she
way
can turn evil and Kylo can turn good, and they can fight again. See, that fight again would be interesting then, because they flipped the dynamic. Sorry,
Paul Spooner says, I feel I'm totally in the minority, but I didn't like it. All right. It seemed much like a pilot episode of a TV show, and that there was too much said for what's to come. It teased you repeatedly and never gave you a satisfying payoff, the Rey character being the worst offender. People have drawn mirrors with A New Hope, which are true, but that was a complete film. If the saga handed it there, it wouldn't have had as many loose ends as The Force Awakens. Different eras and different audiences, I know, but for me, it weakens the enjoyment of the film. So, what do you think about that? Do you feel like this is more of a pilot episode? Do you feel like that this movie isn't complete?
No, I disagree. I'd say the movie is complete. And I'd say the movie's actually more complete in the sense that as a solo movie, it works a lot better. But, I know, as part one of a bigger story, I think it doesn't work for all the reasons we just talked about, but we won't go into it. So, no, I don't agree at all. I think it works very well.
I think it's a very complete movie. Granted, I will give you the Death Star. Granted,
it does have the tease for the next movie, so it's not complete in that regard.
Yeah, well, I think it's in the same way that a movie like Back to the Future is a complete movie, but it has the cliffhanger, the setup for the sequel.
But I suppose something we'd also need to take into account in answering this is it complete? Well, in the sense of that, there's actually a lot of stuff it doesn't explain that it needs to explain. Like, it's kind of hard to.
I like that though. I think.
But I'm talking about I like it as well. But I'm talking about more in as regards to like the bigger state of the universe. They just didn't really explain it. Like when Hux is giving his big speech, and he talks about there's the New Republic and there's the Resistance, and I was like. Maybe you'd know more about that because you saw it a second time, but I was like, hang on, so are they the same or are they different or how is it?
The first time I saw it, I thought of it to be like, my first thought when I saw it, because I was too busy in awe of Donald Gleason's overacting performance in that speech for me to really hear what he was saying the first time. I was just like, wow, this is really Nazi. Great shot, by the way, of all the stormtroopers going, Heil Hitler, at the
Yig, Snoke! Yig, Snoke!
I just imagine Charlie Chaplin up there, with Captain Phasma behind him, great dictator. I think my first thought was, so the Resistance is just like the military of the Republic. But I guess the way I look at it now, I'm not entirely sure, what the Resistance and what the Republic is. I thought that the Resistance was just kind of an evolution of the rebellion, just like the First Order was for the
so I think
Empire.
In that regard, you'd have to say no, it's not a complete movie. And I think that's an instance where JJ wanting to follow the magic box unfolding story thing from A New Hope doesn't specifically work. Like that works in A New Hope because Luke is our window into this universe. So we start small on the frontiers and we slowly expand the universe out. But here in Episode 8, we already see this full scope of this empire, so we need to know that kind of storytelling where we're out on the frontiers, and that doesn't work here because we still want to know, like, how strong is the First Order compared to the Rebel Alliance? Is there peace between them? Is there still a state of war? Like, I think they needed to explain that, and they just didn't because they were going to the New Hope thing of we're out on the frontier.
I don't think they needed to explain that. I think the film still works. Yeah, I feel like the Republic in this movie was kind of like Alderaan, of where you're just like, you don't need to explain what Alderaan is. You just kind of need to understand that there is that it's bad that it gets blown up. So because whether or not it was explained or not, it still gets blown up by the end of the movie. The Republic is still gone. So
that's what I wanted to ask you. You saw it a second time.
Yes.
Is the planets they blow up? Do they blow up Coruscant as well?
They never mention if it's Coruscant or not, but I would imagine.
See, that's the thing, because I was like, I didn't even know. I just thought it was.
It looks
closest...
beautiful. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, of course. It's J.J. Abrams. Everything looks good, but I just thought it was random planets. But in another review I saw, they said that was Coruscant, and I thought, well, if they blew up the core planets for the other Resistance, they should have made a bigger deal of that in the movie, because that would flip the balance of power around. So the next movie will be like Empire Strikes Back now, where the First Order is on the offense and the Resistance is on the defense. But they didn't even really say. See, like that's so in that way again. No, it's not complete. So
I mean, there are so many. I think Jeremy John said it best when it's like this movie is so much. There's so many things about this movie that's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
Like there's like and. I think that's why we can watch the same movie but then get so different looks out of it. Like you saw the movie and looked at it as this is a New Hope remade with some different tweaks to it. I looked at it as this is a similar story with a whole new kind of take on it. You know, or you look at things like the Republic thing where we both looked at it and said, you know, they didn't explain that, but some people looked at it and says, well, then the movie's not complete. I looked at it as more as, well, it's just something that needs to get blown up because they show those are the bad guys. I don't know. I guess I was very forgiving about it, but you know, yeah, maybe it would have been cool to see, you know, them explain what the Republic was, but I guess if it's gone, it's gone. You know, there's not really much you could do about it.
Well, I guess anything that it doesn't answer here because it's leaving it open for the sequel, you know, that's fine because it's a new trilogy, so you can't say it's incomplete because of that. But I think that stuff of explaining the state of the universe, it did need this to be a complete movie. But actually, I'm just looking and I'm saying, someone said here, what do you think about the theory about Rey being Palpatine's descendant?
I
thought I was the only one who thought of that. Okay.
Oh,
so
no.
Other people are saying that too.
I want to keep to Paul's question. He made a comment about, I think he says, you know, it teased you repeatedly, never gave you a satisfying payoff. The Rey character being the worst offender. I highly disagree with that one.
Yeah, I disagree.
I think Rey is the second most developed character in this movie. I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, I think we got a great payoff with her.
I thought
a little premature, but I thought it was a great payoff.
Jesus Christ! I thought she was the best kind of Luke they could have done. How cool was it to see her put on that Rebel helmet? By the way, you know, and she's just eating her food with the Rebel helmet on. It was moments like that where I was just like, that's. I think the Walker brothers on the Nostalgia Critic, they did a review of it, and they said that it felt very Miyazaki. I don't know if you know who that is. He does a lot of anime movies. And, you know, and I'm like, that's true. It felt the world felt large. Like Jakku felt massive, you know. And so I don't know. I thought the Rey character was really well done.
Can I ask you how do you reckon, like with Finn? Because I think J.J. Abrams did a bit of sleight of hand in the trailers and all the promotional material. Trying to make us think that he was going to be the next Jedi when it was like a clever switcheroo and it was going to be Rey, which I love that he was able to sort of hide that reveal a bit more. And like in this day and age, it's amazing you can do that. But it did leave me wondering at the end. I was like, I wonder like what kind of role his character is going to fill then, because if he's not a Jedi, can he go into like the more Han Solo-esque kind of role? But you already have Poe Dameron for that. So I was wondering there might be a bit of an overlap between the two of them, and I don't know how they're going to make Finn a bit more distinct now.
They may do, you know, if we have our theory of Rey might become evil at the end, you know, they might do kind of a, you know, they might have a Finn versus Rey, because they clearly established. Speaking of which, we're talking about Finn and Rey. Their chemistry was amazing, especially that second time around. You know, within the first 5 minutes, you know, when they're on the Falcon together, and they're like, oh my god, that was so exciting! Why can't we just did that? I was like, and right when they said to each other, they're just like, hi, I'm Finn, and she's just like, I'm Rey, and right away, my heart just lit up, and it's just
they do have great chemistry, but I think the Force was stronger with Finn and Poe Dameron.
Oh,
that's a serious bromance.
Bromance.
Right
oh my god,
that's a bromance right now.
You know how awesome it is.
I'm sure the fan art's probably already out there.
In 5 minutes, they set up more friendship between those two than they do with Anakin and Obi-Wan in 6 hours.
Yeah, I love Poe Dameron.
Awesome
Oscar Isaacs is so fantastic. He's a fantastic actor. That guy, I really love him.
So let's move on here and see. I don't want to mention
I
that
was just
one
going to
because...
say, so if we look at, if we compare Poe, Rey, and Finn, and Chewie, I guess, because he's part of that crew now, to the old crew, if Rey is the Luke and Poe Dameron is the Han Solo, does that make Finn the Princess Leia?
Oh, I'm down with that. Hey man, it's a free world, man. I'm okay with that. All right.
But I think that's going to be a problem, because it's like in the Luke kind of Luke is the hero. You got the sassy pirate, and you got the princess. They each have distinct roles. But I think now Finn and Poe are going to kind of overlap. It's going to be difficult for them to separate them in that foursome there.
I think Finn is going to be the how do I put this? I think Finn's going to be, the Leia, except this time they're not going to be related, so it's okay for them to get together. I really want to see that relationship continue on. I'm really excited to see, because at the start, Daisy, Rey is so much more kind of, I don't want to say naive, but she has this kind of childlike wonder about the Resistance, and so when you look at from her at the start of when she's on Jakku to the ending when she's when she looks at Leia before she gets on the Falcon, that to me, was just this. That's when I was just like, wow, look how much she has grown. I don't know.
Maybe they're going to build up a feud between Finn and Captain Phasma later on.
Ooh, I like
that.
Let's
hope so, because I want to see more Phasma.
That could be the Han Solo, kind of, whenever, he's like, Boba Fett, where? Except this time we can kind of see the feud. He'd be like, Phasma.
Why did she have to be the one that they forced to put the shield down? Like you said, why couldn't it have been Hux?
I don't know.
Because they need someone to shut down the shield, but don't make it Phasma.
Or make it like that Daniel Craig Stormtrooper. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How great was that?
Do you reckon that's true? That really was Daniel Craig? Because for those who are listening, in the scene where Rey mind tricks the guard to letting her restraints go, apparently that Stormtrooper was Daniel Craig, who showed up on set and they wanted to give him a role, but they couldn't afford to show his face.
Well, I watched it a second time and I listened to it, and it sounds a lot like Daniel Craig. He's just, so it sounds like Daniel Craig doing an American accent.
Yeah. If that's true, there's got to be some J.J. Abrams Twitter pics of him and Daniel Craig in a Stormtrooper outfit going, "Hey," or something like that.
And he's got that James Bond charisma, or that he had in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
According to you, when he's like, I'll put down my blaster. He just drops it as he's walking out, kind of cool. And
she could have gone all Kilgrave on him and been like, "Put a laser through your skull."
Put a bullet through your skull, Bond. She's walking.
So he's trying to drive the laser into his head.
He's trying to shoot himself, but he keeps missing because he's a Stormtrooper, so he keeps missing trying to shoot himself.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that reminds me. When the movie started and all the crawl, I had this big dumb smile on my face, right up until the moment where Kylo Ren stops a blaster bolt in midair.
What?
Now, it's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but when I made my fan thing of Phantom Menace, I made it the Jedis can't block laser blast because it's energy, and I got endless complaining about that. So as soon as I saw Kylo Ren do that, I was like, oh, I'm never going to hear the end of this now.
Hey Bandit, guess what?
There's going to be 500 comments in the next week of people going, but Kylo Ren stopped a laser blast? Well, then why didn't he stop Chewie's crossbow laser thing?
Why didn't he stop when we were shooting him, in the woods? I don't know.
Yes.
Why See, that's Death Star?
In my defense, that's the mistake in putting in something like that, because once you establish that, you can't have Kylo Ren get shot later on, especially since Chewie roared out loud giving advance warning that he was about to shoot. So he should have blocked that, is all I'm saying.
He's probably in shock that he just killed his dad, Bandit. I don't know.
Yeah, but come on, it's Chewie's right over there and he's roaring. He had a good 10 seconds to know it was coming, and he could block that from Poe Dameron. He wasn't even facing him. He didn't even know he was there.
When you kill your father and your dog grabs a Glock, let's see how you can block the bullet, all right?
Okay, so but just like Nick Mason from The Weekly Planet says, once you set up a rule, you have to stick to it. Otherwise, it's just nonsense.
Oh my God.
Just
they're going to tear this movie to shreds.
It's called Hanging a Lantern. No, that's not right.
Nick Mason's going to hate. Speaking of hanging a lantern, I love the line when he's like, "Look, so it's bigger. What's the big idea?" That was my thing. When they were like, I'm like, so it's bigger. So, ooh, it's 17 times bigger than the Death Star.
And I like the tired, exacerbated way that Han Solo is just like, Okay, how do we blow it up?
He's like, "There's
where
always
do
a
we
way to do
shoot it
that."
this time? You know.
Speaking of tired, Akbar was, I loved him. He was just like, because he just looks like he's been through so much. Like, because you think about it, he thinks, at the end of Return of the Jedi, he thinks he's done, because he sits down in his chair, he just goes, he thinks he's done with everything.
Yeah.
And now he's back, and it's just like, we have to stop the rebellion, we gotta just, he looks like he's so done with his life. Oh boy. Okay, I
I
have
wonder
another
how
thing from
old
the
his
Facebook
species
page.
lives. Squid Man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yoda was 900, so I gotta ask. Ryan Farr on Facebook asked, did you guys have or didn't have anyone spoil it for you? What was your opinion on the spoiler war?
I saw that. Yeah, that's an interesting one because he says, yeah, like, what is your opinion on the spoiler war? It's interesting, isn't it? Because I guess we kind of need to rethink nowadays what exactly classifies as a spoiler and what doesn't.
Well, the way I look at it, a spoiler to me is something that once you know it, it changes the way you look at the movie. The Sixth Sense ending is a spoiler. Anything that's a major spoiler, but you know, like something saying Han Solo dies in The Force Awakens is a spoiler. Saying that Rey uses the lightsaber is a spoiler. Saying Luke Skywalker doesn't show up to the very end is a spoiler. Saying that, you know, saying that Admiral Akbar in it is not a spoiler. Saying that Rey and Finn meet up after Finn somehow ends up on Jakku is not a spoiler. However, saying that Finn rescues Poe from Starkiller Base is a spoiler. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain, because this
but
movie,
also, if it's in the trailer or it's in the poster, you're okay to talk about it. Like
yes,
like the Death Star was in the poster, and I did a video a while back talking about, is there a new Death Star? Is that okay? And someone's like, you put the spoiler in the title and in the thumbnail. I was like, it's in the poster.
Oh no,
you'll see it as you walk into the movie.
It's not this channel. This channel called Comic Book Cast does videos. They're okay. They're an okay channel. But every time a Marvel movie comes out, they always talk about the post-credit scene, and their thumbnail is the post-credit scene. And so like they like with the Ant-Man, I know. The post-credit scene, they did the Wasp one, and they showed the picture. And this video came out 2 days before Ant-Man was out. So, you know, and so like the credits.
I saw a video that says "Walking Dead, who dies?" and it's got a close-up of like a bloodied Glenn face going, "Ah!"
Thank you.
That's a spoiler. Don't put it in the thumbnail.
And so,
but on the flip side, just recently, like in my spoiler-free video, one guy who said very nicely, he wasn't trolling. He said that I was giving spoilers because I said, quote, I'm keen to see how Kylo Ren's story pans out, especially considering how this movie ends for him. And he goes, that's a spoiler! It's not a spoiler, okay?
It's kind of a spoiler.
Is it a spoiler that I'm saying that he survives the movie?
Well,
not
I think
really.
I'm not even really saying tension. It's dramatic tension. You know,
I don't think that's a spoiler. I think... And like I said to the guy in the comments, I was like, look, if you're that sensitive, you consider that to be spoilers, you should probably just stay off the internet until you've seen it.
I'm not saying you're in the wrong for saying that. I can see where the guy is coming from, though. And I agree with him because I posted, I listened to the soundtrack after I saw the movie, and I posted a picture of the soundtrack online, and the track was called The Jedi Steps and end credits, which I don't consider that to be a spoiler because we knew the Jedi were in the movie, and I don't. But someone commented on that, and it's just like something. I'm like, spoilers, dude. And this is Saturday afternoon when I post the picture, you know. And so I replied with him like, you know, the guy said, you know, some people haven't seen the movie yet, and I said, well, then those some people shouldn't be on the internet right now, you know, because at this point, millions have seen the movie. So the whole spoiler war, with the exception, okay, so I'm on Instagram, right? And right after I see the movie, I'm walking out of the theater and I'm going through Instagram. I'm looking at pictures from #The Force Awakens to see if anyone's posted any spoilers. There is this one account going around on Instagram called Kylo Kills Solo, and then the name of the profile is Han Solo Dies, and then all they do is post the picture of the shot. It's a bootleg shot of when Kylo Ren stabs Han Solo. And the caption and like there's caption on the picture that says Han Solo killed by Kylo Ren, who is his son, or something like that. And
what a prick! Who did that?
And then I think the best part about it is that the hashtags. It's #star, #wars, #Star Wars, #Luke Skywalker, #The Force Awakens, #spoilers, #I don't give an F, I just like he covered the full basis of this. And so like I was going through hashtag Star Wars and I saw that picture and I said, and I commented, I'm like, oh, you dick, like come on, dude. And he replied with, maybe don't be on the internet right now. And I'm just like, come on, dude. Come on, dude. Like I don't know, maybe if he had that spoiled for him, no, he just wants to, get some vengeance or whatever, but you gotta
see people like that definitely people like that definitely deserve the hate. But we all gotta, to avoid spoilers, we got to anticipate that there are assholes like that around.
Yes. It's like,
who are going to cause problems.
People said, like, back when the trailers and TV spots were coming out, everyone was like, we've seen they're showing too much, they're giving away spoilers. Seeing Finn with a lightsaber is not a spoiler. In hindsight, after watching the movie twice now. I always try to
stay off Twitter, like,
Oh, yeah.
at crucial times like that.
I told you last week I deleted all my social media, and because I was tempted every day to get on social media, but like, I'm happy I deleted those apps until after I saw the movie, because especially if I was someone on Instagram and I saw that profile, I reported the profile, but I think it's still around. It's quite funny when you think about it, but the guy was a douche. Okay, let's see if I have another comment here from the people on Facebook. Oh, Seb Petey. Hi, Seb. He asked us, favorite puppet? There were a lot of great ones.
Actually, I'm not sure if it's a puppet. What about that big fat guy that Ray was selling the bits of junk to? Was that a puppet?
Oh, it was Simon Pegg. So it's a guy in a suit.
Oh, that was Simon Pegg?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It did seem like there might have been a bit of CG on top of it, too.
I thought Simon Pegg for a while was that one guy. When they're in Maz Kanata's place, and she's like, those two guys over there will get you there. There's the red guy, and then there's the short, fat guy. For a while, I thought, oh, is that Simon Pegg? But then I remember that Simon Pegg would be on the desert, so I figured, oh, Simon Pegg must be the guy that took in Rey when she was a kid, which is great that they gave him lines. But that's good practical effects.
He was probably my favorite puppet.
Yeah, I think whenever Finn first gets to the little junkyard area, and he sees that giant elephant like pig-like creature drinking the water. It was when I saw that I turned to Christian and I'm in tears. I'm just like, it's back. I'm like, Christian, it's back. Because at this point, I've seen the prequels bazillion times at this point. We see nothing but, and even in like modern blockbusters, the Avengers, as great as it is, a lot of CG in there. The world feels very computerized, but just to see a guy walking in a desert and walking up to a real puppet, and it's just everything. It looks like I was blown away by that, which begs the question. Why in the flying fish would you put...
Should we add that to the beef shank swear?
Yes. Why in the flying fish would you ever make a chase scene with CGI monsters in Star Wars: The Force Awakens? That is the scene I like the least.
With
out
the weird
of the
octopus
movie.
Things, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just do Minox. Or maybe have the guys be menacing and trying to shoot them. I don't know.
Yeah, or better yet, just don't have the pirates attack at all.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't need it. I guess they wanted him to fly off in the Millennium Falcon, but come on, guys. Like, yeah. Maybe they just did it because they're like, we want to show that Han Solo's a rogue again. He's a rogue.
Or, maybe just have, maybe that they get boarded on the ship. And then, Rey's like, we gotta go, we can't stay here, we gotta take the Falcon, and Han's like, no way, and then you hear the monsters get loose, and you just hear the roar, and then Han's like, you know what, Chewie, let's go. And then they all get on the ship and take off, and they leave the freighter behind.
Or the First Order shows up, starts shooting them, and he says, oh, well, the Millennium Falcon's the only ship fast enough to get away, this thing's too slow. They jump in the Falcon, they go.
What a nice line, by the way, when he's like, is this the one that did the shit that did Kelso run in 14 parsecs? And he's just like, 12. Himself, he's like 14. I was like, that's great. That's...
Allow me, now that you're all positive, allow me to bring you back to the negative again.
Oh, Matt Damon.
Why the beef shank?
Oh, boy.
Was the Millennium Falcon in the junkyard right where Rey was anyway? Was that on purpose, or is that just one of the many amazing coincidences?
It's
one of the will of the Force.
It's one of the many amazing coincidences that every movie ever has. So,
apparently, someone said there was some kind of battle there that I think the books or something explain, but I don't know.
Well,
and why did there
well,
was way too many coincidence moments, I thought, and like they just happened to end up in the exact same cantina where Luke's saber is down in the basement, and she has it calling to her. How did she?
Well, I think it makes sense.
Out
that,
of
that
all
Han
the
would
bars
take her
in the
to
entire
Maz Kanata.
galaxy, they have to go to that exact one, unless Han Solo recognized that that's Luke's daughter, so he's like, "I'll take her to that bar to see if she can sense it."
I think it makes sense that Maz Kanata would have Luke's lightsaber, because if anyone's going to have Luke's lightsaber, it would be this woman who's been around for 1,000 years and who has seen the same. I think one of the best lines in the movie is when she's like, "I've seen the same eyes in different people when you live long enough." I think
Wouldn't
it makes
make more
sense.
sense that he would have given it to his sister? Leia should have it.
Well, Maz Kanata probably found it. So I mean, that's
right. Yeah, because he lost it at Cloud City. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, I'm like, that's why it makes sense, because someone she has all those flags, the Mandalorian, the Anakin, Anakin's pod racing flag, like Sebulba's pod racing flag. It makes sense that someone and it also makes sense that Maz Kanata would be the one to have Luke's lightsaber. So
it was interesting that Kylo Ren could recognize it.
Yes.
Remember, he's like, "That's
true.
mine," even though he couldn't have seen it before. But I guess he
probably,
sensed it or something. That it was Vader's or something. But
well, maybe he thought because he killed the the last Jedi besides Luke. So when he sees another lightsaber, he's like, "That's mine." Because there shouldn't be any more Jedi around. I don't know. I'm just pulling this out of my tush. So these are legitimate plot holes if you want to really break it down. But I love the fact they didn't explain a lot of things. Because
do you think that Luke powered down R2 when he was away on purpose?
Yes.
It seems like that. On a second viewing, you probably picked
or
that up more.
At least I think he wiped his memory. He wiped some of his memories.
But didn't he have? He had the missing part of the map or something, didn't he?
Yeah, well, because in the flashback that Rey gets flash forward when she touches the saber, we see that quick shot which looked so amazing in IMAX, by the way, so well shot. Oh my god, it looked beautiful. When we see the camera, the lava planet happens and Luke pans over into Luke, put his hands on R2-D2. I think that's the moment where he's just like, R2-D2, you're going to leave, and and then I think he shuts him off with the Force, and I think he felt the death of Han through the wills of the Force. Just because the same way Leia felt it. That's what I'm saying. Like Leia felt it, so Luke felt it. I think that's when he's like, okay, now I got to go cut on R2-D2. And that's why he's standing up there, because I think he felt Rey coming. He's like, okay, let me stand to look cool. Do you want to get to Luke? Do you want to get to that scene, by the way?
Yeah. Well, first,
sorry.
Why do you reckon he went into exile at all?
I think it's because he realized he broke apart his friend's family.
Yeah,
because
they mentioned that he tried to start the new Jedi, and it all went wrong, and that Rey turned evil. Did they say he killed all the other students or something?
I think he said he either killed them or they became the Knights of Ren.
Yeah. But it seems a little strange to me that if he's like messed up training the Jedi so badly, and he's basically handed the universe a new Darth Vader, he'd be like, "Well, good luck with that. I'm going to go live on an island now for 30 years.
I think he just couldn't handle himself looking his friends in the face again.
Hopefully they have a better reason, because that makes him seem like a coward.
Well, I think
rather than
that's
staying
the
and
point.
fixing the problem he created.
I think he's supposed to be a coward. I think that's an arc we're gonna have to see him get through, because I think that's something, because it's only when Han dies that he's like, you know what, I have to come back out of hiding. I think this is going to be a great arc to see him have to get over, because Luke is still very young at the end of Return of the Jedi, and I brought this up in my my top 10 Star Wars moments. I said, that is the face of someone that says, "I've seen too much," and so it makes sense of someone who has been through all of this. And just when he thinks he can start a new Jedi Order and maybe bring peace back to the Force, it all goes wrong. And not only does it go wrong, it goes wrong with the kid of his best friend and his sister, and it's all his fault. So it makes sense. Well, Snoke and whatever, Plagueis, but whatever. And so it makes sense that he would leave and cowardly go like, you know what, screw this, and he's gonna have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also if they weave into that, like what we talked about last week, is that maybe part of him did still feel the pull of the dark side, so that's why he put himself in self-exile. Because if he didn't, he's worried he might join the First Order. So if
that's still very much a possibility.
Maybe they wove that together with all his students failing and turning evil. Maybe because part of him was bad, it sort of filtered through to them, or I think he needs that rather than just I left because I felt bad. But we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I'm fine with that, but I think I can see that's why people would need more. But let's talk about that scene in general.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the best scene of the movie.
Imagine if he turned around and pulled back the hood and it's like young Hayden Christensen. Everyone's like, whoa!
I probably would have stepped up. I probably would have left. I would have left walking out and yelling, worse than Jar Jar.
And then he pulls off a mask and it is Jar Jar.
Oh my god. That
finish what you started, Eddie.
That was a big theory going around that Luke was Kylo Ren. And every time that would happen, I would post the picture of Kylo Ren's face at Entertainment Weekly released officially. And everyone was like, spoilers! And like, we know what Adam Driver looks like.
It's not a secret, yeah.
So,
even in the trailers, he's got his helmet off and you can see his hair flying around it.
Yeah,
you can tell from the body type, it wasn't an old man. It was a young, thin guy in that suit.
But dude, Bandit, how cool was that? The John Williams' score, the da 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 da. It's just it's so mysterious and dark, and then she's walking up those steps, and I swear to God, I really thought they were gonna end it with Luke, just standing there. I really thought they were gonna cut to black there, but they kept it going. Luke turns around, he looks, and she pulls off the hood, all epic Jedi long hair, beard, and he's just like. He gets a look of like, how are you doing? And then Rey looks down, pulls out the lightsaber, presents it to him, and Luke gives that look of like, oh boy, things have happened. And then credits, and I'm just like, yes, I'm so excited.
I liked as well that the look on his face. I think this must have been deliberate, but because I was still wondering like, is he going to be good or is he going to be bad? I don't know. And the expression on his face, you can't really tell. I think they left it that way on purpose, and I love that. Because he's not like, hey, I got a student, but he's not like, what are you doing here? He's just kind of looking at her.
I think that's the face of someone that's just like, I have no idea what to do, but we just have to do. Or it's the face of someone that says, it's about time. I think to me, like, I was on the verge of tears by that point. When I first saw that, my eyes were welling up at that point. I think what probably would have made me cry was if like Rey's holding on the lightsaber. You see Luke put up his robot hand, and then like he uses the Force and grabs the lightsaber, looks at it, ignites it, and says, "Let's get started." Then it cuts to credits. I probably would have cried then. I'd have been like, "Oh my god, it's Luke Skywalker."
I did have a moment when she was walking up the hillside, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if she gets to the top and she walks in a cave and there's the giant hologram of Snoke there, and then it dissolves away and you see Luke's like behind it? Oh, and you're like, oh my god, Luke is actually the bad guy. God. I thought that would have been awesome.
that would have been spoiled for everybody though, because there's no way they could have kept that secret. Like
that'd be great. He's like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain.
That would have gotten out.
And he's secretly ruling the government through this hologram. I thought that'd be amazing. I'd love that so much.
People would have been like, it's a Wizard of Oz ripoff. So
do you think that Snoke is plagiarist though? I think he might be.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've noticed.
I told you about the canon book that I saw yesterday or last week when I was at the bookstore. And all the other books are there, and then Darth Plagueis was just sitting there.
Yeah. Well, I think because some people have said, no, he doesn't look exactly like that because Plagueis is supposed to have a big elongated head. He did have a big elongated head. They might have redesigned it a bit. But some have said, but no, his face looks like it was rotting. Now, let me tell you something. In the Darth Plagueis book, in the scene where Sidious kills Plagueis, he lightnings him in the face. Okay, so if you got lightninged in the face and somehow managed to survive it, which Plagueis could, he was Darth Plagueis the Wise, he knew a lot of stuff, your face would look like in that hologram where it was just torn apart. So yes, and also they do have a line.
His look is not canon. His look is not his name's canon, but his look is not canon.
So they're free to tweak it if it's not like Vader's design where you have to have it like that. And on top of that, there was a line where they said that Supreme Leader Snoke is very wise.
That's what got me when he said
was called Darth Plagueis the Wise. So I think he might be.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Whenever Kylo Ren's like the Supreme Leader is wise, I'm like, I turned to Christian and I said, oh, it's gotta be Plagueis. I honestly, I'll be a little disappointed if it's not Plagueis, just because they're really building this up to be Darth Plagueis. It's kind of like when they revealed that Kylo Ren was Han Solo's kid. It was a great reveal, but I'm still happy because I knew it, of course, because it was so obvious, but it was still a great reveal, and I still bought it. Let's see here. Let's see if there's anything else I need to
think that was a good reveal, though, where you think he's a giant, but it's just a hologram.
Yes. Now, would you have been okay with him being a giant? Because I've seen that be like a big, like, people have really big issue with him being a giant.
Yeah, well, I suppose he still could be a giant in real life. We don't know, but yeah, like, I would be okay if he's like a new character, but I'd also be disappointed because if he is a giant, he wouldn't be Plagueis because Plagueis wasn't
That's
a giant.
true.
So that's the only reason I'd have a problem with it.
Okay, because some people are like, giants don't belong in Star Wars, and I'm like, this is a galaxy.
There's nothing that doesn't belong in Star Wars.
Exactly.
We already have giants. They're called Rancors.
Thank you. There you go. And so, I think I was okay with it just because I'm like, people were like, I don't want to see Luke fight a 50-foot Plagueis or whatever. I'm like, well, Luke wouldn't be. I don't think Luke's not going to be the one fighting at the end of Episode 9. It's going to be one of our heroes.
Yeah, and like Yoda said, size matters not.
Size matters not.
So
Look at me.
That'd be a good reversal. If he's the
Yes.
evil Yoda, he'd be a giant, wouldn't he? Instead of a little
Yes.
guy. So that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay, so Timothy John, and for long story short, he states he doesn't like the look of Plagueis.
It did look very CGI. Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah, but the effect, I do agree though. Like, and I'm someone who doesn't mind CGI effects, but I agree that effect didn't look as good.
I thought it worked because Andy Serkis really knows how to mocap a character, how to performance capture a character. Like with Maz Kanata, I couldn't really see the performance capture, not just because it didn't look like it. I couldn't really see the actor's performance in Lupita Nyong'o's performance. It felt more like a voiceover than anything, but it was motion capture. But with someone like Snoke to me, maybe it's because I've seen the pictures of him dressed up as her. Maybe it's his voice, but I felt like I saw Andy Serkis as Snoke, and I thought, the CG created like this looming presence of like just evil and just darkness. And granted, it looked very similar to the alien in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull for me, but I think I don't know. It worked. I think it looked real enough. It looked like an alien. It didn't look. People like it didn't look real. I'm like, well, I don't think it had to. It had to look like an alien. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the Force Awakens? I have a couple of things here.
I've only got a couple more little nitpicks to annoy you.
Oh boy. I actually had some questions that I thought were okay, but I'll let you use your nitpicks.
Little nitpick was
okay.
I liked that the fight scene between Finn and the Stormtrooper had the little lightsaber blocky thing. Shame that they didn't really do much with that. Like all the Stormtroopers apparently have this, but it seemed like they only really used it in one scene. But whatever, nitpick. Also, how come nobody could find Luke? Because it's like, so they show the map where Luke is, and there's this big chunk missing, right? That R2-D2 plugs in and it completes the map. But here's the thing: if you're looking for Luke and you've looked all over the map, don't you think this one section that's missing that you don't have info in, he's probably in there? If you looked everywhere else. And how do you? I think too.
It's like.
How do you map everything around it without there? It should have been like right on the edge is where he slots it in, because it's in the middle of everything else. So they've been all around it. Why has no one been in there before? But nitpick again. But I did like how hyperspace in this, they show how quick it is. That you can just literally just zip from one planet to another. Some people complained that seemed too quick at sometimes, but I like that.
No, she got to look relatively quickly from what we saw. She got there she jumped across the entire galaxy in a couple of minutes. Yeah. I liked that though.
I like that because that's what hyperspace is. That's the whole point of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it take you 6 months to get to hyperspace.
Granted though, in A New Hope, it takes them like 20 minutes to get from Tatooine to the ruins of Alderaan. They have like the whole training montage scene and all that. But so hyperspace is like, it can be as long or as short as you want it to be, depending on whether you want to have a scene there.
Exactly.
Nobody knows the rules of hyperspace.
It really
can be
should.
whatever.
If that bothers you, then you don't watch sci-fi, because sci-fi has that kind of stuff all the time.
Did you like that Finn brought up the little chessboard?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice little callback. I thought.
What about the
second time I
floating
watched it, I
ball?
thought
He's
it,
taking stuff out, and one of the things is the floating ball. And
I
he's
caught
like,
it the
chuck
second
that.
time, and I was like, nice. The Falcon was just full of just callbacks. The Falcon itself is a callback.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta ask again. Would you like to have seen more of Luke Skywalker, or you think that he was perfect in the movie?
No, I think it was perfect. I
Yes.
would have liked to see more C-3PO, to be honest.
Yes, me too. Me too. I thought
Even though he had
that
a
was one of
great
the best
intro.
scenes. I thought he had one of the best scenes. He's like,
Yeah.
Yes, hello, it is I, C-3PO. May I recognize you with my red arm?
I'm
Because
sorry, am I in the way?
and then Leia looks at him like, yeah. Well, how great was it when Chewie hugged Leia? I got a little choked up when that happened too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Chewie.
That was
Chewie
great.
was just.
Do you
Okay,
reckon
what
it's
was it- what
true
was
it's still the same actor inside the suit?
for some of it, sure. For some of it.
Because I did think, because when they announced that guy was still in the suit, I was like, that's great, but at the same time, that guy's really old now, and he has to walk around with a cane, and so he didn't seem to be decrepit inside the suit, if that was him for all of it.
I reckon that whenever he was in it, there may be some leg braces inside the suit that they put inside of him.
Oh, okay. He seemed pretty agile.
Just kind of to keep him going. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think in some of it, it was him. Another time, it was just a stunt man. Like, in a scene where he flips out and starts taking out bad guys and whatnot. But in the more scenes where it's just kind of them walking around and they're doing things. When he's like, nah, and Han's like, oh really, you're cold. I think that was more of Peter Mayhew in the suit. But yeah. Okay, let's see. Kylo Ren, Canada, puppets, CGI.
The Weekly
Yes.
Planet just published their Force Awakens thing. I just saw it then.
Did they?
They record
boy.
at the same time as we do.
Let's
so...
not say that it's balls. We
no,
do.
it just says Star
They
Wars
do.
Force
They
Awakens.
do. Please don't say it. Please tell me that they didn't hate it. Okay, good.
I don't know. I
Star
haven't
Wars Force
listened to it
Awakens
yet.
is balls.
Yeah, they must
I
record
know
around the
Mr.
same time
Mr.
as
Sunday
us.
movies like to buy, but Nick Mason must have hated it because minor things like that annoy the heck out of him in movies. So they tear movies to shreds in that show. Oh my god, Interstellar. Oh my god. Okay, let's see here. We talked about the Force, talked about mythology, good cast. All right, I think that's pretty much everything I have on here. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay. So to answer your question, Rommel San Andres, is this movie not very good? I think the movie's very good. I think the movie's done incredibly well. I think the movie is a great return to the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I think it's definitely one of the best remakes I've ever seen. But I think it's probably on par with Return of the Jedi in terms of quality, I'd say. And overall, I did really enjoy it. I'm just a little bit disappointed that, they didn't try a bit harder to take more risks and break new ground. But whatever, people like it. It worked for Jurassic World, just recycling an old story. So why not here?
But I think this one's done much better because I think they had much more competent people making it, which is why I'm worried for Episode 9. Because Colin Trevorrow is doing Episode 9, and he did Jurassic World. And if your worst fears are realized, Bandit, and they do follow and they continue to follow the formula of the original trilogy, will Colin Trevorrow be able to handle a Return of the Jedi style third movie well enough to where it won't bug us that it's Return of the Jedi? I don't think so.
Well,
I have some.
To be honest, I think you could make a pretty good argument that there was much more original stuff in Jurassic World than there was Force Awakens when compared to the older ones. Yeah. Sorry, I could feel the hate through Skype coming at me from you.
Good.
Well, look, if it makes you feel any better, I've just had a look at the poll here where I said, is Star Wars Force Awakens a remake of Star Wars A New Hope? 69% says no, Only 31% agrees with me and says yes. So there you go. You're right.
It was in the 70s. It was in the 70s before we started recording. So some people do agree with you.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think similar beats equals remake. I would much rather say that it's a reboot of A New Hope than it is a remake of A New Hope. I don't think similar beats equals a remake. You know, I think if they were to have the movie be about a kid named Luke Skywalker who was found by a droid named R2-D2, taken to Ben Kenobi, and then they had to destroy a Death Star. That is a remake of A New Hope. You know, this seems much more like a reboot. You know, I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
You're saying a slice of banana instead of a strawberry. To keep with your analogy, that a slice of banana would be, it just looks newer. Yeah.
That's what. But I feel like with Force Awakens, we got a lot more new stuff in where you're letting on to believe. For example, Kylo Ren, I think, is a much more developed character in this one than we got with Vader in Episode 4. You know, and if you disagree, I will fight you on that. So, you know. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all for watching this wonderful episode. This has been a great discussion with you, Bandit, talking Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. We're going to bank some of the questions that we got here that you guys have asked us here for next week. But speaking of next week, we're going to be taking a hiatus because of the holidays and, you know, Christmas and all that wonderful stuff, and Hanukkah if you're Jewish. And, you know, and then we will be back the following week talking our favorite movies of the year. So, Bandit, where can people find you?
Well, they can... Actually, I should probably say... you guys might also notice we didn't do any homework assignment. That's because we just wanted to get straight into Force Awakens and give extra time to that. But for the homework assignments you've given us, we will still try to do as many as we can over the break. And so don't worry. The assignments you've given us will get done eventually.
Yes.
So don't feel like you're missing out. So.
Yes.
Where can people find you, the people can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And I've also just made a Twitter page for Movie Mania. So we now have an official Movie Mania page on Facebook and on Twitter where you can submit listener questions and stuff like that direct to those. So you don't have to worry about going through like my social medias or Trey's social medias. So you can find us pretty easily. So.
Yes. And they can find me on YouTube, Twitter. On YouTube, Twitter.
I forgot that.
Yes, on YouTube, Twitter. It's okay, it's late. For me it is. On YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at either Trey White or Podcast Media. My review of The Force Awakens will be out probably tomorrow. I've had a very busy weekend. We will see you all later, and thank you all for watching our Movie Maniacs.
We'll see you all in the new year.
Yes. Yes, New Year, 2016. Haha.